Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It is June 25th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was all downhill today. Um, Clear two-tier channel working lower. You could find this pretty relatively early. Your first two swings here. Only problem is you didn't confirm it till almost noon. A little after 11 here, between 11 and noon today. So you didn't really get it confirmed till later. And even if you had have got it confirmed a little earlier, you really almost had to trade the smaller patterns here. You only really got one setup off of this trend line. Uh, Maybe here you might argue. I didn't mark this one, but you might argue for this one here. It's just not a very good setup, but you might have even argued for this one to be green because you got your trend coming up. You get a break, you measured move up to a new high, and you get that big bearish bar a long way away from the EMA. You're better off to wait on that lower high, which comes right here. I don't know why this thing is hourglassing like that, but anyway. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I paused it there to see if it would quit buffering or whatever it was doing. I've never seen that happen before. That was kind of odd. I don't know what was going on. But anyway, you might have entered here, but again, you're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here, and then you just get a bunch of sideways bars and an inside bar. Not a lot of room back to the EMA, so then you really have to wait on the true reversal, which doesn't come to down here. So these are a possibility, but really you just at your trend line, which is where you want to get most of your best entries, you just simply don't get one today. And that's kind of unfortunate. The key is you would have got this one. And I just had this conversation with somebody. They were talking about runners and how most of your break evens come back and get the break evens, and you don't get runners. But most of your good runners are going to come off the key entry points. And if you notice, if you'd have entered one tick lower here, you wouldn't have got stopped out when it came back here. It would have just missed you, and you could have ridden this all the way down. And it's really the same thing here. Actually, I believe it would have come back and got you on that one. If you'd had a better entry bar here, which some of you could have, it wouldn't have come back here, and it actually wouldn't have come back here either. So generally your best entries are going to be off these key entry points in a trending market. That's where you're going to catch most of your runners. So when prices are going sideways and real choppy like this, you're not going to catch many runners. You're just not, because prices chop around too much. You got to catch them off these main trends when you got a nice trending market like today. And unfortunately, you didn't get a lot today, but you could have caught at least two runners here late in the afternoon and ridden them all the way down. Or at least ridden them until you had a significant correction. This one would have been here, and this one wouldn't have been until way down here. So, I mean, we just call that 29.32 all the way down to 29.23. You catch a runner like that, that's almost that's what, 9 points. You catch 9 points once or twice a week, it really changes your math, and it changes your profit. So you want to try to catch these runners. They definitely change your math. But anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades, and we'll wrap it up for today. It's not a lot of trades today, so it's pretty straightforward. It's all downhill. Somebody else asked me today about finding these trends, trend lines and so forth, and how'd you, because sometimes, like I believe it was yesterday, was it yesterday? The trend was a little odd from the overnight. We actually had a couple of breaks, and they asked me how I knew that and how do you figure that out. Well, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you there. The key is this is a skill. Finding these trend lines is a skill, and it just takes a lot of hard work, watching prices print every day, and getting experience with the whichever market you're trading and how it reacts. And when you've watched it every day for 10 years, you get to know it. And it doesn't take quite that long to learn how to do it, but The reason I can see it so easily is because I've been doing it for 10 years. If you hadn't been doing it that long, it takes a while to see this stuff, and but it is a skill, so make sure you understand that, and that you know the way you get better at it is you study charts every day. You get out your charts and you study them, and you sit here and watch it print to the screen in live time as much as you can, because it's one thing to be able to pick it up on the chart studying already printed charts. That's the first step. If you can do that, that's a lot better than many people can do. But then you have to learn to be able to translate that over to a live chart printing in real time and still be able to see it in real time. And that's even harder. So it takes more experience. But that's the key, is that you have to get experience doing this. Is a skill. Day trading is a skill. I don't care what anybody tells you, it's a skill. And it's a skill that can be honed. Doesn't mean it's a skill you can do. Being a professional baseball player is a skill. Not everybody has the skill set to be a professional baseball player, but it is a skill that can be worked on, practiced at, and honed. And trading is very similar to that. So I tell people it's kind of like I'm not very musically inclined, so I know how difficult it is to learn to play an instrument. I tried to play a guitar when I was a kid. I could never do it. I didn't have the skill set for it. I just didn't understand music. I couldn't read music, and it was very difficult for me. So, but for those people that are professional level musicians, especially the ones that play instruments that are world renowned at their instrument, that's a skill. And they didn't just pick up that instrument and learn to play it overnight. And trading is the same way. You're not going to pick it up and learn to trade it overnight. Even if you could read the music flawlessly, you have to practice to get your fingers to know to do the right things and to move in the right ways and to understand the nuances of the sound, versus if you pick your guitar string at this location or pick it at a different location, or if you're holding the keys down with one finger at this location or that one. It's a skill, and trading is very similar to that. You can't just pick up a chart and start trading, or read a manual or read a book and learn a few things and then pick up a chart and start trading it and be successful. You got to hone that skill to get better at it. So this is a skill. But anyway, let's get to the trades. 7 o'clock came in this bounce. You can see we had a big leg down, and we were trying to make a leg up, and we were really getting sideways here. But let me show you something. Notice how you're making a high or low every time, just about. That is a good clue that we're probably going to break out to the upside. May not go very far before it reverses, but that's a great clue that we're probably going to break out to the upside. And sure enough, that's what happened. We broke out. However, that doesn't mean that you can just go long right into all that resistance. It's still risky. But anyway, notice that you got a little double bottom right here, 2 matching lows. So then you get a first entry and a second entry. And so you may take that failed second entry short. A lot of times that's what it takes, is a failed second entry to push on through. And notice it did push through a little bit, then it came back and it made another double bottom, then another higher low, and then it pushed on through and went higher. I wouldn't enter here. When it didn't take off here, I doubt I'd enter here, especially the fact that it doesn't have a very good signal bar. But you may have risked this one just for the fact that all these higher lows, you figure it's probably going to push out and make a run up. So that's a possibility. I marked it green. It's still aggressive. Of course, we do run up, and you make this high here, you're a good bit away from the EMA, and look how bearish that bar is. And these bars have matching highs here, so it makes it okay to use this one. And being that far away from the EMA and opening on its high and closing on its low, I don't have a problem going short right there. And this would have had a runner. It takes off, doesn't check up. But it's still kind of aggressive. Because generally you want to wait on a lower high, and that comes right here, and you're just going sideways. You got a couple of dojis there. It's right into the EMA. You don't really want to go short there. And once we started heading lower here, I would look for that measured move. Move this over. And that puts the measured move down here. And you can see we actually went, we couldn't quite get there. We're real close right here. Actually, I'm just curious how close that is. We actually did make a perfect measured move, basically. We went actually a couple of ticks further. And then we got the big bounce. So that's probably why prices were struggling right there, because they had that measured move. And a lot of people are just going to come in and buy right there because it's two measured legs down and they're expecting there's going to be a bounce, even if it's just temporary. And that's exactly what happened. We had a temporary bounce back to the trend line and down it goes again. So you got your two measured moves right there. So that would be your target. Doesn't mean it's going to hit right at this location, but it just means it's going to hit at that price level somewhere across there. And we're headed down. There's a failed second entry long here, but you're way too far away from the EMA. This is looking like the other side of the trend line, and we're right into it, so I wouldn't go short right there. But notice we come back and you make a little, you come back to the EMA and turn down with a nice little bearish bar, but notice that's a double test. You made this high, tested it once, you come back and tested it again, and each time it's making a little lower high as well. And that's a nice bearish bar. You may not could have got in this one because it kind of gaps over. So, but you still could have dropped a limit order one tick below where it goes to see if it would come back. I don't know if you'd have got filled. Probably not, but it's worth trying anyway. I wouldn't wait for it to come back here, but hopefully it'll come back within this bar and fill you. You just never know. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But now we run up and we get a little failed break higher. Wait on that lower high, and you get a real bearish bar right there. And that's a second entry short as well, counting off this low. First entry, second entry. I like entering there. And you actually get a failed second entry long right here, but that really looks like one leg right there. So I wouldn't have counted it. I would have counted this as a double top. And you get one leg, and then this whole thing is a leg, and then I'd count that as your failed second entry long right there. Because that all looks like one move. Even though it ticked higher right there, it just looks like part of the same move. And you could count it either way. Even if you entered here, I think you would have got stopped out if you'd entered there. I didn't count how many ticks it got. But you're really kind of going sideways there too. But when it comes back and gives you a little double test right there, and what looks like a failed second entry, I like going short right there. It's a little small bar there too as well. And then you come back and you try to go higher and you turn down right off. I actually do this trend line right across here and then just pull it over to see what would happen. Of course, we turned down right there and it actually broke higher and then went lower. I like going short there just to look for another leg similar to this one, if nothing else. And we may break lower and trend all the way down to the other side here. So it doesn't do that, it bounces. But unfortunately, you don't really get a setup here. You got your trend line working up. You just turn right back down. Then you just kind of start chopping. You're making lower highs and lower lows, but you don't want to go short right into. By the time you get this set up right here, you don't want to go short into that double bottom and all those, especially when this one closes and matches there too. I wouldn't look to go long here yet, not without a reversal pattern. But it just takes off. And I don't know what's wrong with my throat. Every day about this time I start talking and my throat starts bothering me, so I apologize. You'll just have to bear with me a little bit here. We bounce here. You got a trend line working up. You get a break, and you actually get a failed second entry long here. But again, that just looks like one move down in the first break. So I'd want to wait on at least a second entry. Plus, we may turn back up here. I didn't put this trend line on there. You can kind of see that move down, and you get a break. You try to go lower, and it turns up. And then you make that one more push up and gives that big bearish bar, and it's still holding on. This really confirms the trend line, and this gives you a good signal bar. And so I like entering there. You get a lower high here, it breaks higher, turns back down. And so this is your lower high off the trend line. And you could have caught a runner off either one of those entries. It runs down. And then we bounce right here. You get a failed second entry long. Really, all three of those could have been your signal bar. If these would have been closed more in the middle or even closed bullish with those matching lows right there, I'd have probably told you to skip this trade. But the fact we can't get through that EMA and it's the first break or close outside this trend line, and the fact that we haven't got down here yet, there's a good chance we're going to at least test this low, but we may go all the way to here. So generally you'd be better off to wait on a second entry, but you don't get one here as you see. So if you didn't take this one, you don't get a trade really. And it just bounces. And notice what happens. You get a reversal here. This one's coming down, you get a break and a new low. Then we run up, you get a first entry, you push through the EMA, you get a second entry short. It fails, so when it breaks higher right here, I like going long. It takes it a minute to work its way on up, but it does. I don't think I would have entered on any of these others up through here. And then this is almost a repeat type pattern right here. You came back. This one's a long way away from the EMA. You do have your break and a new high. So it's a possibility. It's a little risky. Again, you probably want to wait on your lower high. I'll go ahead and mark it green. But as you can see, you get your lower high right here, and it's a mostly bullish bar. It's not really bearish. So wait on your reversal. Pushes through, comes back, tests the EMA, and it also confirms that trend line. It's also a second entry. It's not a great signal bar, but because it's a failed second entry long, we don't care as much. But notice that low, first entry, second entry, and that's another great entry. And you would have had a runner here too. Boom, off it goes. And then we bounce, but you don't really get a chance to enter this back long. You don't get a true reversal. And by the time you actually get something else going, you're well into 2 o'clock hour, and there's just nothing else much there. So, yeah, good downtrend today. Again, not a lot of trades considering. There's plenty of trades here, but considering it was a relatively strong downtrend, that lasted all day, you just didn't really get a lot of entries off your key entry point. And that happens, and that's why you have to go to your smaller trends here and try to find your entries. And generally, I would tell you, don't worry too much about going long on a day like this. But you can see we're still swinging above and below the EMA a lot. And so the fact that the trend line's way up here and there's a lot of room to trend back up there, you may take one or two of those if you get a good setup. So if everything was consistently below the EMA, I'd say no, don't do that. But when you can see it swinging up and down and below and above relatively often, then you may risk some of those. Notice I only marked one today, but we had a true reversal pattern with a lot of room left, so that was the reason I marked that one. Anyway, that's what I saw today. Hope you had a good trading day. Again, it's a shame we didn't get more trades off this, but just go to your smaller trends and use them. Look for your reversal patterns on your corrections and so forth. And like I said, it only takes one or two, especially if you catch a runner on any of these. And this is the kind of day when you get a nice trend where you're getting long, big movements is where you want to try to catch a runner. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.